Orlando Washington in his office.
One of those little chip bills.
Dick Tracy, Rich TV.
Well, one guy says you have to jump in one thing and one guy.
You just, take it out.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, could you give us the exact scenario of what happens from this point on in the next 14 days and what the possibilities are?
Boy, oh boy. Well, you can match and keep, you can match and trade, you can not match. Based on which avenue you take, obviously if you don't match, there's nothing more after that. You can match and trade, and you look at your options. Depending on when you, as far as the time goes, at some point in time, you either make the trade, and that creates its own scenario, or you don't. And the player is on your roster who you can still trade.
What makes you think you would be able to trade Sherman if no other team but the Lakers until this point showed any interest?
Because the dollars in the first year are so low.
Have you been in contact with other teams already?
No,
Were
not at all.
Were you caught by surprise or caught off guard at all?
No, not really. We knew, all the while that the Lakers had this slot. There was some surprise in the sense that at an earlier period of time, pretty consistently, Jerry West was never a fan of Sherman Douglas. Now, whether he was, again, truthful in that area, I mean, he has to answer that. But we always knew that, for those few teams that had space, that it could happen. If there was anything that was surprising, I guess we were a little bit taken back by how low the first year was, because that was never acceptable in our negotiations with Sherman. He never wanted to sign for more than 4 years. And that's how the scenario was always to us.
Louis, how much acrimony is there between you and Sherman Douglas at this point?
Well, there's no acrimony. I can only speak for us. There's no acrimony at all. I mean, there's been conversations up until the last, 2 days ago with Eric, with Billy. I spoke to Sherman, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. I mean, I never, again, sometimes you can't always read the word, acrimony. We had no acrimony at all, not in the slightest. We were frustrated, confused, sometimes perplexed about how negotiations went, but that's not acrimony.
Because of his reluctance to deal with the types of years and figures that you just discussed, and you're surprised that he's willing to talk to the Lakers with such numbers, is that an indication to you that maybe Sherman just does not want to play in Miami?
Well, again, if he was going to sign with the Lakers, he had no choice. He had to accept all they had, which was that first year. There was no choice. As far as his thoughts or his feelings or why he and his representative changed their view, you're going to have to get that from them. I mean, we haven't spoken to them since we received the offer sheet. So I can't really respond. It wouldn't surprise me if there was something planned for after this. Because if Jerry West's word can be taken, he was never a big Sherman Douglas fan. Whether that's real or not, you'll see what develops. Because at that first year's number, there's a lot of opportunities.
What is your timetable now to make a decision? Will you use the full 15 days?
Yeah, I think we'll use, all of it unless something happens to intervene.
And then to follow that up, if you want to bring Sherman in here, and that was the ultimate goal, wouldn't it make sense, since we're already in the middle of the season and losing time, to even make the decision right now, get him in here, get him in shape, and get him ready as soon as
No,
possible?
that's not how we see it. We don't see it that way at all. There's too many other options open to us that have to be explored and have to be looked at to do something. At this point in time, if this was training camp, maybe there would be a different way of looking at it. But at this point in time, I don't think your scenario is important.
Well, that said, aren't you almost losing too much time from this guy? If you take another 15 days, you're talking about 27, 28 games.
That's the way it is, Ira. Ira, we didn't set the rules, we just follow them.
I think he'd perform on this team now, knowing that he didn't want to sign for this kind of money before. How do you think he'd come in?
I think he'll be fine. I think he's a player, he's competitive. I think for those people who have been in this business for a long time, understand that when the player finally gets through the morass of negotiation, it goes on in every sport. It's never easy. Some are more difficult than others, but the player comes in and performs. I think there were so many examples of that, Ned. And Sherman's a competitive kid. He's going to come in and do the best he can.
Is he a cheap poker chip, if you will, at 1.2 to be able to shop around now? Is that a pretty cheap poker chip to be?
It's an interesting opportunity, is what it is. Again, it will open up and explore different worlds we've never been able to explore before. And we'll see.
Lewis, what are the rules regarding what you can do within this period?
I'm not sure of all of it. And on Monday, when I finally saw the offer sheet, which was close to 7 o'clock Friday night, the NBA had already started their Christmas party, so I haven't. I don't know everything yet, but we will on Monday.
It seems kind of hard to believe that you would not match this offer sheet. I mean, it seems, because of so much of what you could gain from him and stuff like that, it seems like it's a pretty cheap thing to be able to say, oh, yeah, I can match that. It seems hard that you could turn that down.
No, I think this is a business of opportunity, and I think you're obligated to explore every possibility and not act precipitously. I think that's the way the business is.
But the two opportunities on your side, to sign him and keep him, sign him and trade him, the only thing you lose is everything.
No, there are more things involved in that, Ned. It's not as simple as that. Each one of those are a scenario, but within each one, there's a story. And I think as I said, there are things to look at in each scenario. And there are reasons for waiting that are very important.
Can you afford to let a guy that you've developed and put so much time into, let that get away for nothing?
If you determine that that's in the best interest of the team and the way you're going. We've always looked at this as a long-term plan. And if the decision is finally that we're best off the way it is, that will be the answer.
Do you think this?
I don't think I don't think we're going to be compelled, like some situations in the past, to just do something because it looks popular. I think we'll do what we think in the long term will benefit this team.
Do you think this team would be better with Sherman?
I don't think I can answer that question now, and in a very short period of time. It's more complex than a simple yes or no. Obviously, he's an asset. Obviously, he's a very good basketball player, and obviously, you're better off having a good basketball player than not having a good basketball player. But what are those alternatives to that is the question here.
Are you happy with your present point
Well,
guard
it's a-
situation?
Yeah, I think when everybody's healthy, I think we're doing very well.
Can you rank the scenarios in your mind right now of what would be the best? And
Yeah, I can.
One being sign him and trade him, one?
No,
and
no, there's,
deciding
but,
to keep them as two?
yeah, but within that, there's a whole host of options, Ned, and the more you think about it, the more possibilities arise within the structure that's been created for us, which never was available. Don't forget, up until this morning, we weren't able to speak to any other team about Sherman. That's the rules. And as I said recently, the league made it very clear that don't let us find out that you've spoken to any other team. He is a free agent, and you cannot speak to any team and trade him. And we haven't. But now there are opportunities to do things.
You still can now, though, until he's your property.
Yes, we can.
You can talk to other teams as of the point of
Mhm.
of receiving the offer sheet.
Mhm.
Again, 1.2 seems like a pretty cheap poker chip to be, to get something for this guy finally.
Ned, the scenario might be that we keep him. Because that's, at that price, this is an asset. And that's a good price for that asset here in Miami.
I guess that's what I meant. I mean, you have a poker chip to either trade now or
Sure,
get rid of
sure.
later if you have to.
Absolutely. Don't forget, it wasn't too long ago, when I say not too long ago, it was relatively a short time ago, nobody would take less than $3 million a year.
Is it right that it goes up just by 30%
Yes,
every year?
yes, it's limited by that. That's it.
I'm ready for some. That's what we got.